My life, I've been Billy the Boxer. Now I'm Billy, and who's Billy? I really started to question myself, life, transitional period I found really difficult. Made loads of mistakes. Went through depression, and I hit rock bottom. And it was when I hit the bottom, that was the moment I realised, well, I can either go that way or that way. You've always got a choice. And I decided to go upwards. I went to work on myself, and I dismantled Billy the Boxer, just stripped him bare, and it wasn't pretty. It was tough. Mm-hmm. It was a real difficult journey, really getting through my ego and my identity of Billy the Boxer, to be free from it, to create the next phase of my life. And it was a real journey, and it wasn't I transformed overnight. No, it was doing the work over time.
Today's guest is my dear friend, Billy Schwer. Billy spent 20 years at the top of his field in arguably the toughest, grueling and most demanding sport there is, boxing. During his professional career, he won British, Commonwealth, European and IBO World Boxing titles. Described as one of the most consistent, brilliant fighters Britain has ever seen, his sharp skills, courage, determination and grace in the ring attracted a huge fan base. He reached the pinnacle of his boxing world in 2001, becoming IBO world champion. Then his career ended and he fell into depression, struggled to find his new identity. Billy has built a successful business in an inspirational and motivational speaker and performance coach. He now works with individual groups and organizations, sharing his powerful message, which takes you from crisis to success, radically transforming people, shifting companies' performance, results, and impact the bottom line. Welcome, Billy.
Let's get ready to rumble. Here we go. Come on. Let's do it.
Excellent. What's one of the most courageous things you have done after reading all of that?
Right, so let's go back to the beginning. The title of your podcast, Create the Courage to be Fearless, right?
Yes.
So I wrote that down this morning, and I was just looking at what words jumped out at me the first. So fearless jumped out at me first, then courage, then create. So fearless, it's a great word, isn't it?
Yes.
Fear. Can we ever be fearless? What is fearless? It's a great conversation. And as a boxer, we're having to confront fear all the time. So what I like to do is separate. So fearless. So if you can have two separate words, so fearless. And then what came up is courage. Now it takes courage to confront your fears. Mm-hmm. So consistently finding the courage to confront your fears over time, like for me as a boxer, fear was always present for me, but I kind of used it and leveraged it to be prepared and ready for my fights. So if you can find the courage, tap into your courage and confront it consistently over time, you will fear less. Over time. And then create. So creating is like creating a state of mind and body to then tap into your courage to then interrupt and push through your fears. So that's what the title says to me today. Fearless.
Absolutely.
Find courage. Yeah, and it's like creating courage.
Definitely.
As an active thing rather than a passive. Just actively create courage, and it ain't easy. But once you do it, once you start to get used to it over time, you'll get it. It will become easier. And fear is always there; it's always be present. But there's a great saying, isn't there? Make friends with your fear.
Yes, definitely.
It ain't going away. It ain't going away. It'll always be there. But it's managing it and leveraging it and using it for you rather than have it be against you.
Definitely. So what took you on your journey of professional boxing? How did that all come about?
It's a great question. And Do you ever wonder why we do what we do? That's for the listeners, right? Mm-hmm. Do you ever wonder how you ended up the way you ended up and why you do what you do, the job that you have, the relationship you've got, the money you've got, the money you've not got? So how did it end up that way?
Absolutely.
So I went on a journey. It's fascinating. So I went back and I've worked on myself so much so over the last 20 years. I've been looking at what is it all about? Who am I? Who's Billy? Because I was always Billy the boxer from a kid of 8 years of age. And then when I retired from boxing, I was Billy and I didn't know who Billy was. So I went on a journey and I went right back to when I was 5 years of age. So there I am, 5 years of age. I've got two older sisters, Mandy and Lisa. Lisa's 8 and Mandy is 11. And we're in my mum and dad's front room. I can see it clearly now. And we're rolling around the floor and they're beating me up again. And what they used to do, kids being kids, right? Two against one, what do you do as kids? One of them sits on your chest, one pins your arms back to the floor, right? So there I am, pinned to the floor, a little skinny 5-year-old kid, and I'm kicking and screaming and I couldn't fight them off. And what they did, they both had beautiful long blonde hair. And as I'm pinned to the floor, they used to wave their hair in my face. And they used to sing to me this song. You'll probably know this song. It's a Paper Lace song. It's called Billy, don't be a hero. Don't be a fool with your life. And I was kicking and screaming and fighting. I couldn't fight them off. Now, I used to get so upset. I used to hyperventilate and turn blue. I thought I was going to die.
Bless.
And it's like, I thought I was going to die. And it was in that moment I made a decision. I decided that no one was ever going to beat me, dominate me, hurt me, or get on top of me ever again, especially women. And so in that moment, this is all unconscious. In that very same moment, I decided that I was weak. So then I had to find a way to prove, cover up, and survive being weak. And that's why I become a boxer. So this was when I was 5 years of age. So then I'm 8. So my dad took me down the boxing gym when I was 8 years of age. But unbeknown to me, I was trying to prove something. And I've been trying to prove something all my life. Initially to prove I wasn't weak. So then that decision went into the future and I lived into that. I had to prove it. And then when I was 11 years of age, another incident happened to me. Was my third amateur boxing fight. I was boxing this is 40 years ago. It was the old boxing events there'd be gentlemen's evenings, dicky bow, the gentlemen's in their dicky bows, smoking cigars. It was that kind of stuff. And I remember it was my third fight, boxing a guy called Jason Meager. We boxed for 3 rounds. I go to the centre of the ring, awaiting the decision, thinking I've won this fight. I won my first 2 fights. I'm going to win this one. And they put Jason's hand up. And I'm absolutely devastated. I'm crying my eyes out. Now, my dad's my coach. He's trying to console me. I'm absolutely devastated. And in that moment, I made another decision that I wasn't good enough. I'm not enough. I'm not enough. So then that decision went into my future. So my whole life, I've been trying to prove I'm not weak and I am enough. I am good enough. So much so, I went right through and had an amazing amateur boxing career, turned professional at 21. I won the British, the Commonwealth, the European. I won the World Championships on my 4th attempt. And it was all a drive to prove that I wasn't weak and I was enough. I was good enough. And that's how Billy the Boxer got created. And that's where I've been living my life from. Wow. But having done a lot of work and distinguished what that was, I got free from it because when I retired from boxing, I wanted to be free from the constraint of Billy the Boxer. It was holding me back.
Gosh. So what have you found was your biggest learning around boxing?
The biggest learning around boxing and what my biggest learning that I've got from boxing and where I am today, and the thing I'm probably most proudest of was having the ability to break the habit of being Billy the Boxer. Because what I realised was that the learning I got from being a fighter, professional boxing, it's a brutal, beautiful business. And it's dangerous. You get killed in there. I've had a friend of mine killed in the ring. And I would step up into the ring prepared to die. It was that intense, and that's kind of how I lived my life. But what I got was, what had me be a world-class fighter, a champion of the world, I was persistent. These traits that lots of us have. I was persistent, courageous, determined, all of those nice ones. Now, I call the traits the good, the bad, the ugly. And what came along with those nice, lovely traits were the ugly ones. And I was aggressive. I was domineering. I was selfish. I was inconsiderate. I was always right. I was like, rah, rah, rah. Now, that worked perfectly well in the boxing arena, but it didn't work in life. Ask my ex-wife, she'll tell you. It just didn't work. I just didn't know how to be any other way. So the biggest thing I've ever done in my life was breaking the habit of being Billy the Boxer. And then I reinvented and recreated myself to be who I am now, because that served me. So what had me win in the ring was having me lose in life. So for us all out there, there'll be elements of our lives that really work and we're really successful at. And then there'll be areas that are not. So that's the place to go and look. What's not working?
Definitely.
Why is it not working? A lot of it will be just unconscious. We repeat the same patterns and get caught up and stuck in it. And I've been on that journey for 20 years. And that's a transformation of myself. And it's available for us all, Anita, as you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing is, when your career did end, you fell into depression, struggled to find your new identity outside the boxing. So tell me more about that. You've touched on that just now. So yeah, tough time, I'm sure.
Tough time. So I remember I won the world title. I ended up in hospital. So that was that. So life just doesn't kind of go the way that you think is going to go, does it? Do you ever notice that? It just
definitely.
So then what I did was, so now I come out of hospital 2 days, I'm all right. So me being me, a bit reckless, a bit impatient, I had my next fight 3 months later, my first defence. So I got knocked out. Okay. So I had the fight. Looking back upon reflection, if we could reflect and have a bit of hindsight, we'd all do things differently, wouldn't we?
Of course.
Of course, lots of it, yes. If only. So I got knocked out, lost my world title, and then what happened was, and I remember getting carried out of the ring on a stretcher and put in the back of an ambulance. The ambulance is making its way to the hospital, which was in London. And I remember we got the sirens are blaring, we're dodging through the traffic. And I remember looking out the window and it was dark and it was kind of a bit rainy. And I kind of realised in that moment, my life as I know it was over. And that was when I made the toughest decision I've ever made, to retire from boxing. It was kind of in that moment. Life-changing decisions, they're tough, right? They're tough. And then it was, my world kind of imploded. I went through an identity crisis because all my life I've been Billy the Boxer. Now I'm Billy, and who's Billy? What is that? And I really started to question myself, life. What's the meaning of it all? What's the meaning of life? What's the point? What's it all about? And I really struggled. That transitional period I found really difficult. I made loads of mistakes. Went through depression. I had a mental breakdown, suicidal thoughts. I wrecked my marriage, which ended up in divorce. I went bankrupt. My home was repossessed. I had no money. I had no future. I moved back home with my parents. I hit the bottom. And I hit rock bottom, and it was when I hit the bottom, that was the moment I realised, well, I can either go that way or that way. Yes. You've always got a choice, and I decided to go upwards, and I went to work on myself.
Bless you.
And I dismantled Billy the Boxer, just stripped him bare, and it wasn't pretty. It was tough. It was a real difficult journey. Really getting through my ego and my identity of Billy the Boxer, to be free from it, to create the next phase of my life. And it was a real journey. And it wasn't I transformed overnight. No, it was doing the work over time, making loads of mistakes, having a go, doing it. And that's who I am as a boxer. And that's who I am in life. I'm persistent. And now here I am today with you, Anita. I'm happier, more fulfilled and satisfied than I've ever been. I'm living a 10 out of 10 life. And that's what I wish for everyone. I want everybody to have what I've got, what I've created. It's available for us all. We just put loads of stuff in the way which don't allow us to feel that good. Because feeling good was the main thing that I wanted when I was going through my really tough time. All I kept saying to myself every day was, I just want to feel good. I want to feel good. I want to feel good, because I was at rock bottom. Because I'd experienced such an elevated experience of being an athlete, being top of the bill in Las Vegas, winning championships, all that. So I had such an elevated experience, and I was vibrating at such a frequency, and then I'd crash down to the bottom. So I knew something else was available. But how do I get it back? I can't go back and do that. So I thought about making a comeback on many occasions, but I knew in my heart, making a comeback ain't it. Making a comeback into the boxing ring ain't it. And I just went on this other journey. And here we are.
Well, yeah. Because that must have taken some guts as well. Like you said, you lost everything. And then to navigate your mental health as well.
Yeah.
I mean, marriage, that's really brave of you. I mean, I personally would say that's braver than being in the ring.
Yeah. And it's another battle. It's a different challenge. And it was one that I didn't choose, but I did choose to go on the journey. It was like retirement from boxing was kind of like forced upon me, and then I had to figure it out, because there wasn't any other. There was no other way.
Yeah.
The other way was I wouldn't be here.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's one way you can choose, and then it's like pulling yourself out of wherever you're at. So whoever's listening, wherever you're at in your life, something else is available. If you're not happy with what you got, it's okay. You're okay. Just be okay with where you're at.
Absolutely.
Where you're at is a great start place. Start from where you're at and just move to where, get some help, get some support, and just get yourself moving towards where you want to get to.
Definitely. So tell me more about your message, intentions around you being a inspirational, motivational speaker, performance coach for mental boxing as well.
Yeah, the words mental and boxing, they came together when I was going through that tough period. Just got one day, those words just came together when I can remember it. I'm having a mental boxing match with myself. The voice in my head. I'm having a mental boxing match. And that's when it got created. It's many years ago. And then it's like, I'm building that brand, and ultimately I want to make a difference to people. And what I've created is so unique and so different, and it really works. So I work with people. The initial conversation is like, where are you on a scale of 0 to 10? When whoever your listeners, if I were to ask you, where are you on a scale of 0 to 10 right now today? So 0 being knocked out on the canvas, 10 being fantastic, feeling great. So where are you, right? So you'll have a number. Just come up with a number. And I was having a conversation with a guy yesterday, and his number was 5. So what I do is, my thing is, I get people to a 10 out of 10.
Wow. So
when the most satisfied, and Anita is so satisfied when I get somebody messages me, or rings me, and I speak to them and go, and yesterday again, one of my other guys, I said, how are you? I'm a 10 out of 10. He's a 10 out of 10.
Excellent.
It's unbelievable. And he was a 3 out of 10 before. So it's, what is that all about? And that's what I've got a knack of doing that. That's kind of that's my superpower. Because I've done it for myself. I've done it for myself. And I'm living and breathing the work every day. And it gives me, and the main, so then you go, right, how do I get to a 10 out of 10? You do the work, do whatever's required. And then how do you maintain it? That's another thing. It's the maintaining of it when you get it. Because I've had clients, I get them to a 10 out of 10, then they kind of go on their own. They end up back to where they used to be. Yes. So it's maintaining, it's doing the work, and it's maintaining it. We are a product of our environment. So we got to keep the environment clean, keep it tight, speak to the right people, have the right conversations, listen to the right things. And so what maintains my 10 out of 10 now today is I'm a Samaritan. So you're familiar with the Samaritans?
Yes, definitely.
Samaritans is an organisation, a charity, and their mission statement is the prevention of suicide. I'm a listener, so I volunteer and I go and take calls from people who are in crisis, which is so humbling, and it's an honour to be with people at that time and give them something other than what they're experiencing in the moment. And the intention is they leave the call better than when they come on it. So how do you do that? But it's not coaching. You don't advise them. You don't coach them. It's listening and then offering. It's like an art. I view it as art.
Definitely.
It's getting people to a 10 out of 10. It's like it's art. That's my view.
But that's brilliant. Oh, well done. Because I think from your own experiences, you can definitely help so many people. You've lived it. And now you're helping others. That's the best way to go through it. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's the work that I've done I've been doing this for 20 odd years on myself. And then obviously we're going to talk about the book.
So that's my next question. Tell me about your book.
Yeah. So the title is, it's a bit controversial, but the title is Man Up, because my story, you've heard my story, I was a man down. So I had to man up. It's not what you think it is. It's not that at all. Yeah. Women love it. I do work with women, but I do groups of men, individual men. And it's unraveling us as individuals and just stepping up, giving people an access to a 10 out of 10 experience of life. And it's not, manning up ain't about being aggressive, domineering like I used to be. It's completely the opposite. Yeah. Because that's going to give you a certain experience of life, but that's not really fulfilling. It's not satisfying. Listen, and sometimes you need a bit of that element.
Yes. You
got to be, and I'm still Billy the Boxer. If ever called upon, I train and I work out, and if ever called upon to defend or protect my loved ones, and I'm there.
Definitely.
Then it's an energy force. It's an energy what's required whenever required it. But it's like being a peaceful warrior. There's a great book, Dan Millman, The Peaceful Warrior, and it's about being. That's who I am, and that's I get my men to be that way too. Yeah. And the women that I work with as well. They're the same, because we've all got male, female energies, right? So it's being appropriate at the right times and tapping into those strengths whenever required.
Yeah, for sure. What would you say, what resources do you recommend, daily tips, tools to anyone that wants to get out of their own way and, like your book, have a better future for themselves, no matter where they've come from? They've been down, they've been hurt, you say, in crisis.
Yeah.
What steps do you recommend to start with?
What I do, this is what I do. So I believe you've got to take care of number one first and foremost.
Absolutely.
So it's looking after yourself. I mean all of you as a whole. So good sleep, good nutrition, hydration, supplement your diet if you need to. I get my men to look at their testosterone levels, where they're at, hormone levels, all these hidden things. There's so many elements to us as a whole. And then your mental health, what you're listening to, what you're reading, gratitude. First thing as you're coming out, as we're waking up, what I do is I go to gratitude as I'm coming into an awake state. Look for what you're grateful for, because it's a great way of setting the day up. But the thing before that is the night before. Setting the next day up the night before. So if you've got any stuff you got to deal with, if you go to bed in a good mood, if possible. Yeah. If there's anything that's not said, get it said, or just be appropriate. But if you can, just get rid of anything you need to get off your mind before you go to bed and have a good night's sleep. And then your environment, your sleeping environment is very, very important. Sleep for me is one of the number one things I've got to take care of, because without sleep, I'm useless. Useless. I just can't.
So many people underestimate sleep.
Oh, it's number one. It's number one. Honestly, you got to have a darkened room. It's got to be the right temperature. You got to really you got to take care of that. That's so important. And then water. I'm drinking water all the time. So first thing in the morning, I start drinking water, and I'll have a litre of water. Then I'll have a coffee. Then this is what I did this morning. I do breath work. I do breath work. So I'm looking after my internal respiratory system. So I'm doing that, and then I went for a run today, or I might go or I might meditate. I meditate a lot as well. So I've been on that journey. So the physical well-being, the spiritual well-being, the mental well-being, the nutritional well-being, the hydration. It's like taking care of self then allows for you to be in a good position to ultimately feel good. And then if you're choosing your life, if you're choosing your future, and that's then you get on the right path. And it doesn't have to be perfect. If you're moving towards somewhere, there's you can feel good about that. If that's a choice.
Yeah.
Rather than be at the effect of life, be the cause of it. One of my things I talk about: win or lose, you choose.
Love it.
Win or lose, you choose. Now, if you ain't got the life that you want to have, you're choosing that life. You're choosing to lose, and you may be stuck with it. You might be a victim of it, but you might quite like it, which is very confronting. Yes. Why do we keep hold of the stuff that we don't want? Why is that? What's that about? And I can only speak from my own experience. I call them the lost years. I spent years lost in the wilderness. I did drugs, sex, rock and roll, everything to escape. I couldn't be with who I was. So I did everything to avoid it and escape it. Caused loads of chaos. And it
came through.
Yeah. And so you got to do whatever you got to do, whatever your journey is. Just be okay with it. And don't make yourself wrong or beat yourself up too much, because you do that anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Too many people do that these days.
You've got to have a bit of compassion. Have some compassion for yourself. And just have some compassion, some heart. Go into your heart, and then go from there. Stop making yourself wrong. But if you're doing things that ain't working, that's what you got to look at. It ain't rocket science.
No, absolutely not. Yeah.
But it ain't easy.
No.
It's very simple, but not easy to do. And that's why a lot of people get stuck and struggle making changes. But it's on the other side. What's available on the other side? And that's where the magic is. That's where the gold is. It's on the journey as well. It's enjoying the journey, because there is where we all trying to get to anyway. I don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah. But I just keep coming back to, I want to feel good.
Yeah.
If I can feel good every day, if I'm like an 8, 9, 10 out of 10, I don't know what else I want. Oh, I'll have that, and I'll have that, and I'll have that, and I'll have stuff. You have it all. You can have it all. Have all that stuff that you want, that you think is going to make you happy. It ain't going to make you happy, by the way. The car is not going to make you happy.
No.
Might feel good, you might look good, and it will give you a little bit of satisfaction, but it ain't it. Yeah. So stop pursuing the things that you think's going to make you happy. Just be happy anyway, and have the thing if you want it.
That's secondary.
We want things, don't we? Because we think having that thing's going to make me happy or feel better, and it doesn't. And I've lived it. I've done it all. I've had the Porsche. I've had the lifestyle. I've had all of that, and it ain't it. But if you want it, have it. I'm going to have it. Just be aware of that ain't it.
Yeah.
And then you go inwards and go, well, what is it then?
Exactly. And
that's the work. To sit with that. That's difficult work, because people don't do that. Because just to sit with yourself and just be, because we're busy pursuing things, doing things, rather than, we're human beings, aren't we? We should be more. We're not human doings.
And it's so hard. It is hard for people to sit with themselves, for sure. Yeah. Definitely. So where can the listeners find you online, your books? What's your website, Billy?
BillySchwer.com. That's for my speaking business. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on the social channels. Social media I'm not big into it. It's part of what you have to do, right?
Yeah, so exactly.
Yeah, and it's part of and it really serves a purpose to connect with people. So it's brilliant. But LinkedIn is my main platform, because most of the people that I work with kind of are on there. So that's one of the platforms. And my website, BillySchwer.com. The book's on Amazon. you can find me anywhere.
Yeah, I'll put all the links in the show notes anyway, so people can connect with you, Billy.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing your most inspirational and courageous journey with us today. And by doing so, I know you have helped so many people, Billy Schwer.
You're the champion. And Anita, let me just acknowledge and thank you for even doing what you're doing, because this is such a big deal that you're sharing. Because it takes courage to do what you're doing and get your work out there. So I just want to acknowledge you and send you lots of love, and because it's really thoughtful. Thank you.
Thank you, Billy. I appreciate
Thank
that.
you for you, honestly. You're very special. You're a superstar.
Thank you. What is your definition of courage?
My definition of courage. Definition of courage would be to face your fear. So you got fearless, right? Courage is facing your fear. And pushing through it consistently. Takes courage. It's having the courage to face your fears and push through what's stopping you. What is the official definition of courage? Here we go, right? The quality of mind or spirit that enables a person to face difficulty, danger, pain, etc. without fear. Without fear. That's what it says in my little dictionary here. That's what we all want, right? Win or lose, you choose. So be responsible for the life that you've got and the future that you're creating. Commit to your dreams, take inspired action, and make it happen.